Oh my God, I love this intro. Hello and a warm welcome from Haifa in Israel to everybody. My name is Tobias, and I'm the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Treffpunkt-Europa.de. And Treffpunkt-Europa is the newspaper run by the Young European Federalists in the German-speaking areas in Europe. And I have the great honor to lead this hangout today. And I'm really happy to welcome people from all over Europe this time who will discuss the situation of the refugees on our continent. Just like to tell you some enormous numbers, we have 60 million people on our planet who are refugees at the moment. 31 million of them are kids. They escape because of war, because of political persecution, because of hunger, and because of unemployment. There are many reasons, and there are more displaced people than at any other time in recorded history, according to the New York Times. And I would like to introduce the audience to our guests today. And please tell us your name, the city from where you call in, and which role you have within the Federalist movement. So it is also interesting for us to see whether you're personally involved with the refugee work. So feel free to tell us about your work, what you're doing with refugees. And we go to the far south of Europe first, where immigrants on boats from Africa are arriving first. Dario in Malta, thanks for joining us. Tell us about you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Dario. I am 19 years old and I am representing JEF Malta. I'm not only a member of JEF Malta, I'm also a member on the executive board. I'm the international officer of JEF Malta. Now, with regards to the refugee crisis, JEF Malta periodically organizes a series of debates, which this year has been called Crossroads, and we try to engage university students in discussion about not only the problem itself, but ways to overcome the problem.
Thanks, Dario. The Slovak Prime Minister Roberto Fico said, immigrants, yes, Muslims, no. Norbert in Slovakia has the tough task to explain for us why the Slovaks and their Prime Minister think that way. Hi, Norbert.
Well, hello everybody. Yes, I'm coming from Slovakia, but at the moment I'm based in Belgium, in Bruges. Maybe before I will answer your question, my friend, I would like just mention something about my experience with this topic. Well, Young European Federalists in Slovakia, jointly with the Union of European Federalists, the organization that was also founded 3 years ago in my homeland, we organized last month some debates. And that's actually the point and the starting point when answering your question, because I need to say that not everybody necessarily shares the opinion of our current Prime Minister in Slovakia. And therefore, we actually try to organize events where we might have explain also the people that the refugees necessarily are not a burden. They are not any danger for our society. And the debate, first one was organized in July, and the second one is August, and it was really like focused on benefits that can bring refugees. To be honest, it's quite answer why our Prime Minister said this, but you should reflect the fact that in Slovakia we are going to have the parliamentary elections, national elections, next year in March, and I think that the current government, that's still very popular in the society, however, after almost 4 years, they lost some votes, are trying to keep the clear majority in the parliament. So it's really just like political reason behind, but also I have to say, unfortunately, I'm not glad saying this. Slovak society is quite conservative. We are shaped by quite strong Roman Catholic Church, and people didn't used to have a lot of migrants in the last years. Maybe Bratislava is pretty open-minded, but I mean in general, Slovak society is quite conservative, and I think that politicians just reflect the major public opinion.
So thanks, Norbert. It's a pleasure to have you with us. It's very interesting what you already told us. To the next participant, on their way from Britain or to Britain or Germany, immigrants from Africa pass through Bella Italia. So we proceed with Antonio in Italy. Please give us a short introduction about yourself. Antonio? So obviously he can't hear us at the moment. So we just continue, I think, and wait for Antonio to join us. The country of the next participant does not have a problem with immigration, but with people leaving the country. So we're talking about Kosovo. Milot, can you give us a short introduction about yourself?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be part of this discussion and issue at the same time. It is an important issue also in my personal view, since I was a refugee for 15 years and I know a lot of immigrants that for a long time are located in EU member countries. I will try to give a big picture about the role of the Western Balkans to the recent crisis, because as you know, many of people from Western Balkans are immigrating to the EU countries systematically, but also it serves as a way for immigrants and refugees from Asia, Africa to go through our countries and later to go on to the European Union member countries. Thank you very much, and it will be my pleasure to explain later about everything.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Our journey through Europe takes us to warm welcomes at train stations for immigrants, and at the same time to burning refugee camps. We are talking about Germany. Marina, do you want to give us a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Marina. I'm management board member of JEF Germany and of JEF Munich. I'm 26 years old and I'm working in a lot of initiatives for refugees and refugee rights. So I'm the main coordinator of the volunteers here in Munich, of the spontaneous volunteers here in Munich, but have worked with volunteer help for refugees since 4 years or 3 years, and I'm also part for the Munich people and Europe-wide organization who's called Solidarity. It's just 2 months old, and it's an organization where civil initiatives for refugees from all over Europe meet together to work for the issue.
Okay, great. Great to have you. Our last participant comes from Turkey, or some people call it these days Erdogania. Senem, give us a short introduction.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Senem from Turkey. I'm the very newly elected president of JEF Turkey, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. As you all know, Turkey is the first country having like 2 million Syrian refugees now in Turkey, and there are about 22 government-run camps who have those refugees. Actually, JEF Turkey is not yet involved in any action for refugees, but still, as I remember, you asked about our personal life and our experience with the refugees. 2 million refugees living in Turkey is an enormous amount, and I can really say that they are part of our lives right now. I can see them every day, everywhere, in every way. So I think it's the only country who faces every single problem in every way.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Antonio just rejoined us. Antonio, can you now hear us and give us a short introduction?
No problem. Hi, everybody. I'm Antonio from JEF Italy. I'm the National Secretary of JEF Italy, and I'm calling from Rome. That's the place where I live. And sorry. That's it for now. Do you have to repeat?
Barely, but just continue.
Okay. And nothing. I just wanted to say that the Italian board is very interested in the migration topics and migration issues because, of course, Italy is directly involved in this situation. And so we organized a lot of events about immigration. I would to underline the next event we will have in Ventimiglia on Saturday. And so if you cannot come to Ventimiglia and be with us, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on the other social networks, and maybe sharing what we are going to post. And that's it. Then we're going to debate about the topics more deeply.
Great. So guys, great to have you here. To all those millions, I guess, who are watching us at the moment, I want to say this is an interactive live stream, so feel free to send us your questions on Twitter, hashtag JEFHangout on Facebook, or right down here under the YouTube video. The refugee crisis differs a lot from country to country, so different countries face different problems, so we are interested about the situation in your different countries. And I want to start with a personal question for our friend from Kosovo, because thousands of young people leave Kosovo through Serbia towards the EU and Germany. And Milot, have you ever thought about leaving Kosovo by yourself, like in the recent months?
Oh, thank you about the question. Obviously, I didn't think about that. I'm thinking about my studies and contributing in my country. I forgot to say in my introduction, I'm president of JEF Kosovo, and I served here for 6 or 7 years. Yes, it is a huge problem, and only from 2008 till 2014, over than 90,000 Kosovo citizens have requested asylum in the EU member states. And many of them have appeared in front of EU migration offices holding Serbian or Albanian documents because it's much easier for them to travel easier because of the visa liberalization that these two countries have. Also, other countries they use this opportunity to to pretend they are from Kosovo, since Kosovo is treated as an insecure country and they can seek asylum. Well, there are many reasons why people from Kosovo, but also from Western Balkans, leave the country, and among them there are, the current economic situation, low development, high economic instability, absence of foreign investments, then it's lack of dignity for people of Kosovo, pure education, and lack of the long-term job in general. If you look to the asylum seekers, not all of them have been unemployed or less educated. Some of them are educated in their professions, and they migrate to find a better job and dignity, with the meaning to have a better salary than they have in Balkans. This is a huge problem for small countries because it results with the lack of professional human resources, or brain drain, what is called in. In the other hand, migration is a tool to escape from the poverty and assuring other better possibilities. Based on the World Bank report, poverty in Kosovo is 29.7%, while extreme poverty is 10%. The same, more or less, is also in Albania, Montenegro, and Serbia. Wage reduction and the loss of remittances, but also the inequalities are a big problem that motivates these people to leave the country. Just for the end, people from Balkan, they want a better life, and this is of them, 36% of them, they live in Sweden and Belgium. They prefer countries that they can find job or other things. And this is,
That's a good overview. Thank you. The country which takes the most refugees per capita in Europe is Sweden, and second is Malta. So you're like on the other side of Kosovo. Although in Malta there are no Kosovans, but it's like the other side. Dario, please tell us how your daily life looks like in Malta. How do people react to such a big number of refugees?
Um, First of all, throughout the past year and a half, we haven't seen much irregular immigrants coming over. It is being rumored that the Maltese government has some kind of agreement with the government of Italy, whereby the government of Italy is taking all the boats towards Sicily, and in return it is being rumored that the Maltese government has given the Italian government the right to explore for oil in disputed areas between Malta and Italy. However, the government of Malta has denied it completely, but we still don't know. Um, with regards to the migrants themselves, I think the people do look down on them. In Malta, we don't experience just African migrants, but even migrants that come from the Balkans. However, the problem is the racial issue, given that they are not, unfortunately, white people. Many people just look down on them. They look at them as some kind of inferior people.
Okay.
Given that Malta is quite small and crowded, these people are seen everywhere. Most of them are situated in a particular area. There's an open center which is dedicated for them, which has been refurbished on various occasions. Um, but many of these people actively seek work. Now, many of those who manage to find work are given precarious conditions. Many of them actually have received a good education throughout their life. Especially most of them hold some kind of bachelor's degree or something. I mean, this is not something which is a fantasy. It's true. For example, I remember that in Sicily last year, the Italian authorities have found out that they've let in this boat a neurosurgeon from Syria. So just to give you an image on how skilled some of them actually are. But the Maltese society in general is not doing enough emphasis to integrate these people within.
Thanks for this impression. Just briefly to Turkey, the most refugees in Europe are in Turkey. You already told us that they are like part of the discussion of the debate, but Turkey is a big country. Do people in Ankara and Istanbul really see refugees in their everyday life? Just briefly, please. Zeynep?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Of course, I live in Istanbul and I see refugees everywhere because those people don't want to stay in the camps, actually. I don't know if any of you have seen the conditions in the camps, but they are, yes, they are, the camps are very safe. There are no bombs and people don't die there, but still it's not a place where you can live and have a good education for your children and have proper food and stuff. So people, especially money, not too much money, but money where they can afford a home in Istanbul or in Ankara, they just leave the camps and go to those cities. And especially in Istanbul, you can see refugees everywhere. Even those that don't have money prefer sleeping in the streets, and they don't go to the camps. So yes, everyone sees them. It's not in the camps only.
That said, Germany is the country known for people who greet the refugee trains and people who clap and cheer if the train arrives with the refugees. And Angela Merkel said, "It's not my country anymore. We would treat the refugees not like humans." So there was a very welcoming atmosphere. How does the situation look like at the moment? What is the mood in society? Is it still that positive, Marina?
I think in the most parts of Germany, the society is still welcoming people, but we don't have these situations anymore at most of our train stations that such huge numbers of refugees who weren't registered arrive. Um, but I think that of course there are some changes now, especially in the area of Saxonia, but elsewhere too in Germany, the radical groups are getting more confident. I wouldn't say that they're getting more, but they're getting more confident. For example, today in the news, they reported that a lot of buses driving refugees from train stations to the camps were blocked by racial demonstrations, so the buses couldn't drive to the camps, and also policemen were hurt when they tried to protect the buses. Um, so that's the one side of Germany. I think that they're not getting more. I think that they're getting more radical and more confident. And on the other hand, you still have a lot of people in other parts of Germany who are still very welcoming to the refugees and trying to help. We have more volunteers usually than we can use. I think that's everywhere in Germany like that, except for the border area, because now we got the situation that the country tries to register everybody at the border and try to distribute people who are registered to camps everywhere in Germany, not only in the area around Munich. So the people who are helping there, the volunteers there, are now very, very tired and don't have a lot of energy anymore. And people from other parts of Bavaria, for example, think about driving to the borders to help people there, because you can see pictures in the news where you see children sleeping at the Austrian-German border and just in nothing. And it's pretty cold there now. We're expecting the snow very soon, so we are all afraid that people would die there. And also there are a lot of people now packing buses and transporters and driving to Balkan because they try to contact volunteers there and try to transport all the goods down there, because the German people are still donating a lot of goods and a lot of money, and you can buy a lot of things and use used things. So a lot of people think they are needed more in the Balkans, so they try to distribute it to the Balkan. And I think on the northern part of Germany, it's the same situation like in our borders in Bavaria. It's harder to get people to the Danish, to the Danish side of the border, and the volunteers in Rostock, Kiel, which are the cities in northern Germany, they're now very tired and are a bit done, because there are so many refugees waiting to get over the border to Denmark or to Sweden later.
So a lot of people are still very welcoming. How's the situation in Italy? Is it the same situation? People are also welcoming?
Hi. Honestly, I don't think so. Because Italy, of course, is a border country of Europe. It's always been interested in migrants, in immigration. But we have some critical situation, of course. For example, in Lampedusa, in Sicily, and we had some critical situations in, for example, in Ventimiglia at the border with France. But I don't think the immigration is such a big problem as is viewed from outside in Italy, because we are one of the country with with less immigrants. For example, we have just one immigrant over 1,000 inhabitants. In Italy, for example, in France is 3.5 every 1,000 inhabitants. In Sweden is 11 for every 1,000 inhabitants. And so I think that in Italy, the most difficult thing and the most awful thing is that we have a lot of bad bad politicians who are trying to use immigration to find political agreement. For example, we have Salvini and the Lega. I don't know how to translate it in English. That are simply using immigrants to 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 use send populist messages, and so they say that the immigrants are bad things, that they are stolen, they are stealing our works, that they are increasing criminality, but that's not true. That's not true, and honestly, I think that the biggest problem in Italy is that the situation of migrants is not managed in so well, because we have not so many immigrants, but we don't have a lot of infrastructures, a lot of way to host them and to find a situation to the immigrants, because of course we have a lot of problems with with work, and we have a lot of organization problem. For example, the people who usually ask for to be a political refugee in Italy should wait for 1 month to have an answer, but the average waiting for them is 1 year. So I think that the situation in Italy is not as tragic as is viewed outside, but the honestly, I think that we could manage it better. Another
Okay. About these organizational problems, you can hear all over Europe. So I was asking myself, how did countries like Slovakia react when Merkel said, okay, let them all come? Like somehow she said that. So how did Slovakia react on this? How do they view this? And how do you not but view this personally?
I'm not sure if I heard correctly. So the question is, because there are some technical troubles in connection. So your question was how Slovakia reacts currently towards the migration crisis, right? And what's my personal opinion about that?
And yes, I'm also interested how Slovakia sees the stance of Merkel, who says, okay, we have to take them all. We don't have another opportunity. Because there's the line of Orban who uses tear gas against them, and there's Angela Merkel who all takes them to put it into. How does Slovakia view this?
Actually, I must say that the position of Slovak government currently in Slovakia is quite like negatively standing against Brussels and against the major opinion of the member states in the European Union, because in Slovakia, even our Prime Minister said that we are under the pressure of the European Union, and we are not willing like to follow what was even like agreed at the last European summit in Brussels. And a lot of politicians in Slovakia are saying that once Angela Merkel in Germany or some other also Western European politicians said that they are ready to accept a huge number of refugees from concerned countries in Northern Africa or in Middle Asia, it's their responsibility, and Slovakia is not even like Because one of the arguments that is used in Slovakia are economic reasons, that Slovakia is not that rich, maybe like when comparing with the countries in Western Europe or with Scandinavian states, and therefore we are not able to accept more migrants, more refugees. However, I'm also wondering, and we are going now to my personal opinion, why Slovakia is so much insisting or is against the quotas, since the percentage of migrants or refugees is very low. And anyway, Slovakia is our asylum policy, and that's also maybe point when we will talk, I don't know, later on or in next debates, how to improve and how to create a real EU common migration and asylum policy. Slovakia has very strict strict law that doesn't allow to accept a lot of refugees per year. I can even tell you that, for instance, this year, 2015, even when we see quite serious situation in Syria, but also in other countries, Slovakia positively answered only to 12, I think. I'm not sure the number, but it was for sure less than 20 applications for asylum in Slovakia. I was really wondering when I compare with other countries and comparing the number per capita, per population. So basically,
But how can we change the mind of the Slovaks? How is that possible? Do you see a solution?
Actually, it's quite difficult because there is no party in Slovakia. Even liberals that used to be like party with very open-minded opinion also towards refugees are against quotas. And the problem currently in Slovakia is that we actually are able or are willing to accept the refugees, but only on voluntary basis. So not accepting these quota systems that was established by European Union and also agreed during the last summit, I guess now in October, a few weeks ago. So I remember even from yesterday when I was watching news in our Slovak national television, our Prime Minister said that we will accept only 100 refugees from Syria. And I remember your first question when you asked about religiosity was also a very funny thing for me and very crazy and very stupid opinion of Slovak government that we are willing to take only Syrian Alawites and Christians. So we use this religious approach, what's for 21st century quite hardly imaginable opinion for me.
How does it feel for the Germans, like Marina, when they hear something like this? Because Germany is taking a lot of refugees. How do the Germans just agree on take it, or do they protest against it?
Well, as I said, everybody is still very welcoming, but especially because of the situation on the German-Austrian border, and because a lot of people really needed a holiday to help 24 hours with a lot of people arriving. Everybody says, well, we need a European solution, and there, of course, Germany as a country who has still a bad past. We should be the ones who show now that Europe and Germany have changed and we have learned from the past. And of course, the German people want to take a special role to implement a new refugee policy in Europe, but still people are now saying, well, if there is no European solution and we don't know how we can go on in the future, because we cannot take all of them only in Germany. We really need to that every other European country takes also refugees. And I think especially the argument of Slovakia that they only want to take Christians and not Muslims because there's no mosque in Slovakia, and so that's something that makes people angry, because when you think about the past, when, for example, during the Second World War, Jews were fleeing everywhere. Nobody would say that it would be important that there is a religious group already. It's just a human duty that you took them, and so it's again a human duty to take all of the Muslims. It's not important what their religion is.
So now we have an overview about the different situations of the different countries in Europe. I would like to focus more on the causes of the crisis. Why are the refugees all coming? And I would pass this question to Kosovo. There had always been war in history, and there had always been famine. But what changed that so many people are risking their lives now to come to Europe?
Well, I mentioned about the problems in Western Balkans about development economic and high rate of unemployment and also the disbalances that are happening here in Kosovo, but also in Western Balkans. It is strange and mystery because, as I said in the beginning, systematically people from Kosovo, but also from Western Balkans, have left from our country and came to the European Union. But in the last year, many of people they just went through the borders of Serbia and left the country. And it is very interesting because these people went with low, they didn't pay anything to come, or they didn't pay the smugglers to come there. Some of the people, they had only 50 euro in their pocket, and they came in Germany and other countries. So they just wanted to try. I mean that somebody told them that you can seek asylum and you can get be citizens of European Union. And this is my opinion about this is completely because people want a better life, especially in Kosovo. They are not treated very good. This is also they are not happy about the political situation in our countries. Political parties always promise, but they never do anything about about citizens. And Kosovo, in case of Kosovo, we have different issues. For example, we are the last country and that didn't have the visa liberalization. We are the most isolated country in the Europe, and we still don't know about why this is happening. However, I mean, because if you,
refugees from Kosovo are sent back because they come to Germany for economic reasons, or do you think Germany, or also the other countries of the European Union?
Well, I believe they're coming to find a job and to have a perspective, because people from Kosovo, they're not going to Bulgaria, they are not going to Malta or other countries. They are going specifically to other countries. As I said before, they are looking to go to Switzerland, they're looking to go to Germany, Sweden, and maybe because of our maybe communist mentality, they want to go to the countries when the policy of social policies are more in that country. I mean, if you go to Sweden, they don't need much more to work, but there are social systems that will take care for them, and therefore they choose this kind of countries.
So we got also one question concerning that on Twitter. It was asked, how could the European Union help your country to get along with all the refugees, and what could also the European Union do on a long-term perspective to tackle the reasons that people leave their countries?
Yeah, if you're asking me, okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, guys. I'm very sorry for disturbing you, but unfortunately I have to move to another meeting that also scheduled at 9. So I will have to skip this talk. Let me thank you for the invitation, and especially JEF Germany, because I think that is a very crucial topic. And I will try, if possible, also join next time and maybe prepare myself more orderly. And I think I already talked with some people from JEF Slovakia section, and they're also willing to cooperate in this project like farther on, because I think it's a very crucial topic. So very sorry, and thank you once again, and I hope to hear you all as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, Norbert.
So Tobias, the question was for me or for the others?
Asylum.
Oh, okay, because I can't hear you well. Okay, I will answer this. Actually, I really do support a common policy on a refugee crisis between EU and Turkey, especially both of them, because those are the countries who are facing the worst situations, who are trying to solve those problems. Actually, in the beginning of this migration crisis, none of the authorities in Europe or in Turkey thought that it will escalate this much. And now it's been 5 years, yes, right? Yeah, it's been 5 years, and there are many people living in Turkey and escaping Turkey because every country has its own limits. You may be a very huge country, Turkey is a huge country, but economically it's not a very rich country. Therefore, having 2 million Syrian refugees it costs too much money. As the government has declared, they have spent $4 billion on refugees since the 2011, and this is a huge amount for a country. What I think is that EU and Turkey should have a common policy as soon as possible, which should include sharing those refugees between European countries and Turkey, and also sharing the money so that those people can live properly and also can integrate faster to the society, because it's very hard for someone who can't speak the language of the country to integrate. We all know that, and the country needs too much money to integrate those people. First of all, to help them learn the language and help them, for example, have the children get the education. I think the question in Twitter was about the common EU policy, common EU migration policy, and a friend asked if JEF Turkey supports this. Yes, we do support the common policy. We really are looking forward for cooperation between EU and Turkey to solve this problem.
Okay, Dario, back to you. Dead bodies, also those of kids, we all know the pictures, are washed ashore on the beaches in southern Europe. What needs to be done in Africa and in the poorer countries where these economic refugees come from to end this tragedy? What can the EU do in the African countries to fight against the reasons that the people are leaving?
I think that the EU needs to directly invest more resources into the African countries. And what do I mean by this? We have to first understand why we are facing this phenomenon of masses of people who are moving from one continent to another. This is something natural. It is something which has been experienced for thousands of years, and we have to understand the fact that during the colonial periods of the French and the British especially, many of these African countries were overexploited. They had all the resources taken away. Everything depended on these countries, on the central governments of the United Kingdom and of France, and these people were not given the skills of how to handle their power, and how to handle their daily situations in their countries. And now I believe that the European Union has to sort of, it's not the European Union per se, it's more the member states which actually make up the European Union. But I believe that they have to repay their dues now, and these countries, I believe, need to be pioneers in reinvesting resources in these African countries, and as such, do not give a reason for these people to move out of their home.
Okay, so
Yes, yes.
European countries should increase their development aid when I got you wrong? Right?
Um, yes, but it's not just development aid. It's not just infrastructural development. There needs to be a sense of educational development, and administrative development. And what do I mean by this? I don't mean like having democracy shoved down their throats, just like America wanted to do with Iraq and Afghanistan, etc., etc. But I think that we need to help, genuinely help these countries, these societies to become more peaceful and tolerant societies within.
Okay. Another, if you want to intervene, anybody of you, just intervene.
Tobias, yeah, I
Yeah.
would like to add something.
Yes.
Regarding this question, I mean, Western Balkans, besides, let's say, negative contribution with asylum seekers, it serves also as a transit way for other refugees and migrants from Asia and Africa. And therefore, I believe that European Union institutions and countries should not only treat these issues among themselves, but also include other European countries that might play a positive role in this regard. Cross-border cooperation for more efficient prevention or illegal entries, for example. At least the refugee issue should be treated and as a common issue and possibly have a European quotas. Since all the refugees are leaving their countries to be more secure and temporarily staying in safe countries, they don't need to be located in particular countries. What they need is to have a free accommodation, food, clothing, medical and psychological care, schooling for children. I take from my experience, refugees from Kosovo in 1999 have been located not only in EU, but also in other countries, for example, in Israel or Malta. At that time was a member of EU. Regarding the migrant crisis from a Balkan perspective, I believe that EU should help this region and take preventive measures in order to stop the future illegal migration. EU should persist much more that Balkans should be developed economically and education. Freedom of movement through visa liberalization is not is an important step, but however, this doesn't improve directly daily life in Western Balkans. In contrary, I believe that our citizens, when they see differences between Western countries and our region, it boosts them to ask seek asylum. And I believe that EU jointly with Western Balkans should develop programs that could employ our citizens in sectors that EU members countries might need. And I'm insisting on the education segment since I believe that professional education could turn the illegal migration to legal migration. There is no absolute formula to stop the migration. However, we all can contribute that migration can be converted to a positive tool for better developed Europe. Thank you.
Okay. Antonio, you want to add something?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add that the thing that was said by Senem was absolutely right. But the key problem is that she said that EU has to collaborate with Turkey. EU has to collaborate with the other countries who has these troubles, this war and these wars, and etc. with Africa and other countries. The problem is that we have to find a more unique Europe, because without a common foreign policy, without a common economic policy, we cannot find a solution. We can just find uh, mm, some not so long solutions. For example, the quotas. It's not a really good solution, because we cannot hope to try to host as many immigrants as we can, and then to hope that the wars outside of Europe are going to finish. We have to do something more. And so I also would like to answer to Anna. She talked about an historical duty from the European countries with Africa because of the colonialism, and I think it's an important thing. It's not it's not the main reason we have to do that, but it's of course a reason. But I think that for our culture, our way to see the things, we have to we cannot turn around in front of this problem. We have to find a solution, and to have a really effective solution, we have to stay together. And of course, you know what I'm going to say. I'm in the JEF and I'm Italian, of course. And so without a federal union, we cannot try to help in a good way all the other countries from Africa, from Asia, and it could be also Turkey and the others. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. There was another question on Twitter for Milot, I think. How does the harsh line of Orban affect the people of Kosovo? Do they rather stay in their country because Orban is treating them in a very harsh way? Or are they still going? There's the question. Milot, please start. We can't hear you at the moment. I think you have still turned off your microphone.
Okay. Thinking about the question, I don't think that this action has affected our country because the massive departure of migrants had stopped. It was only during the winter, and somehow it stopped because the Ministry of Interior in Kosovo has started new policies about this issue, and the people from Kosovo didn't flew only from Hungarian borders. They have other countries that they can move freely, but the massive exodus was towards Hungarian. And I don't believe that this caused a problem because many of the people that left Kosovo during that time are coming back to Kosovo because most of them they were ignorant and they thought that they will find they can have asylum and they are here in Kosovo.
Sorry, who was ignorant in that case? I didn't get that.
The people that left Kosovo, I mean, people with their families, they left Kosovo without having any education, without knowing any language, without knowing where are they going, and they didn't know that how they will adapt to that society. I mean, it was total. They missed what they didn't know what will they do in other countries. So most of them they are coming back in Kosovo voluntarily, and they are trying to adapt in Kosovo in these circumstances.
So now we discussed about the reasons and yeah, also a bit about the effects. But I want to go to a completely other side of the effects. There is the rise of right-wing populism at the moment all over Europe. We can see that in the polls. We talked about Lega Nord in Italy, which has like 14% at the moment, but even in France, Marine Le Pen has 29% at the moment. Marina, do you think that the refugee crisis could be the end of the European Union, with politicians like Marine Le Pen in power? Marina, we can't hear you. No, it's not working. Try microphone again. Yeah, I think so. I know it's very silent. Okay, I passed that question to, let's say, Italy. Sorry.
So, about populism, right?
Yes, could this be the end of the European Union?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think that the populism are built on our fears or on the fears of the population. So in a few years ago, the main topic of the populism was an economic topic, and now we're starting um, to talk a lot about migrants, and there will be other topics. But I think that the the thing that could destroy European Union is not the populism by himself by itself. It's the a lack of the lack of the will to improve our union. If we we don't make a step forward, um, further a federation, further a more united European Union, we're going to fall. We cannot stay in this situation. We have just to decide to go forward or to go back. I think that the populism will not be the reason of a fallen of the European Union, but I think that the populism are the a sort of alarms that tell us that we cannot stay in that situation, because this situation has a lot of problems, such as the immigrants problem, and we as European cannot mm, cannot uh, stay silent with this kind of
Okay,
things.
so yeah, we are heading to the end of our discussion, and there's still many many questions unanswered. For the end of our discussion, I have a question to all of you, like just a very short answer, just saying it will get less or it will get more. What do you think for 2016? Will there be more migrants or less migrants? We start in Italy. Just say more or less.
I think more migrants, because the situation is not going to improve.
Okay,
To get
we
better.
proceed with Kosovo. Kosovo, do you think more or less, Milot?
Well, it depends. If you ask me whether it will be a number increased of migrants and refugees. The refugees will remain the same, I believe. But the number of migrants will not be increased, I believe so, because many countries, if you see countries from Western Balkans, they have started some reforms, and I don't believe that the number will be increased in the next year.
Okay, and what do you think, Dario? Just very short, please.
I think more.
Okay, thank you.
I think more because many more migrants are now plucking up the courage and trying to make the journey. So I think it will result in more people crossing over.
Okay, Marina,
Yes.
microphone is working. More, okay, I got the lips. Sene.
Okay, I think it's obvious that it will be more.
Okay, so a huge, massive tendency to more migrants for 2016. We're really heading to the end of our discussion, and at the end, I would like to hear some statements, like what needs to be done at the moment. Please tell us your ideas very briefly, and I want to start with the biggest to the smallest nation here for the end. So, Salman from Turkey, largest country, largest population, you got the word first.
Okay, thank you. I think, as what I said before, I know Turkey is not an EU member country. Also the Western Balkans are not EU member countries. But this common policy should not be stuck only within EU. It should be a common policy including all the third parties, so that the refugees, all those people who are in a very bad situation, can integrate in all those countries and be shared between all those countries, so that those people can continue their lives.
Thank you for that brief statement. And we'll proceed with the second largest country, Germany. Please, Marina, what are the short-term solutions? What are the long-term solutions? We tried again with the
I think that we need to stop the uncontrolled migration, and I think we should have a better cooperation with the UNHCR for a resettlement program to Europe, and of course we need a European quota, and if there are countries who are too poor to take more refugees, there should be a fund where every European country is putting money in, and then they should distribute the money to the countries who have not enough money for refugees, so we can offer refugees everywhere the same standard of living.
Okay, thank you very much. Antonio, Italy is next. What needs to be done to stop the migrants?
I honestly totally agree with Marina, and I just want to add that I don't think we could have a spell to find a solution in a few days, in a few months, in a few years. But I think that we have to start to collaborate more, to work together, and we have to find the then we have to understand that the collaboration is the more important things, and so we have to, for European countries, we have to change our treaties and of course arrive to the federal union, and so we can be more effective with other countries such as Turkey for migrants problem, and particularly with Syria or Libya and the other country in war.
Okay, thank you very much. Milo, for the end, which way is the more effective in the refugee crisis, the way of Viktor Orban or the way of Angela Merkel? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I believe that the short term should be that we should have an European quotas. Each state should take the responsibility. In the long term, we have to realize that this crisis can be endless due to the ongoing conflicts, but also due to the natural disasters such as droughts that taking place in African states. So EU should take the lead and be an international actor trying to prevent this kind of massive refugee exodus by installing programs that would improve the political and economical situations in these regions.
Okay, thank you very much. The last remarks belong to our friend from the smallest state inside the European Union, Malta. Dario.
I think in the short term, we have to achieve a fairer redistribution of migrants. But in the long term, I believe we have to form out a strategy as to how we are going to invest our resources in the African countries, just like I was saying 15 minutes ago. We have to find a way how to stop these people coming over. We need to remove that sort of doubt from their heads that their country is inferior to Europe.
Thank you very much. So, pledge for the long-term solution. Thank you all for sharing your views and your experiences. Me personally, I really enjoyed our little show, and I hope you did so too. So, some personal remarks for the end. Europe facing enormous problems. I think we can all agree that we cannot ignore them, assuming that the refugee crisis just disappears like this. We need to solve the problems in long-term thinking, as Dario said, and fight the reasons why people are leaving their countries. The most important thing we should keep in mind as Europeans is that there's only one way how we can go through the situation together in cooperation, and if we do not do that, it might mean the end of the European Union as a whole, as some say. So I remain with the words Toda Rabba. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Dankeschön und grazie. Have a good evening, and yes, thank you very much from Israel.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.